My first album, What's Been Did, What's Been Hid, 1965. Acoustic with bass. My second album, Fairy Tale, also 1965. I started experimenting a little bit with instrumentation. I love this album. My first electric jazz classical album, Sunshine Superman, made in 65, released in 66. A big breakthrough for me. Also 66, Mellow Yellow, Now the Party Begins. The Mellow Yellow album had many jazz flavors and classical flavors on it too. I'm starting to get good at this recording game. The Hurdy-Gurdy Man, recorded after India. It has Led Zeppelin on Hurdy-Gurdy Man single, before they became Led Zeppelin. Gift from a Flower to a Garden. Very difficult for me to release this, as the label weren't keen on releasing 2 records in a box. But Gift from a Flower to a Garden, 1968. Barabajaggle, 1969. Now this is where I made the record with Jeff Beck, the single Barabajaggle. And then my live performances become important enough to record. Here's my first live in concert album, 1968 late. By 1968 late and early 69, I've got 12 hit singles, so here comes the greatest hits, which has all the hits on it. And then 1969-70, Open Road, where I rebel against the recording system and go a 3-piece rock band sound. And also in that year of 1970, H.M.S. Donovan, a double album dedicated to children's music and children's records. I record many poems from 1930s and 1940s, with my melodies, of course. The 70s begins truly for me with Cosmic Wheels, a Mickey Mouse production, and this is a kind of a classic rock album. Off to Japan with Live in Japan in the spring of 1973, all acoustic. A wonderful tour, loved Japan. With my new Blue Moon guitar. That was followed very quickly by Essence to Essence. Andrew Oldham and I produced this album. And this was a London album. And then I move into 1974 and I do 70s, a selection in Nashville with some of the hottest session guys in the South. Now that was followed by Slow Down World. And I made this one, I think, in Los Angeles. So I'm living in America in the early 70s, making records there. But in 1977, it's back to Europe in a small hotel in France. And Mickey Mouse and I get together with an album simply called Donovan. Another rock ensemble. And now the 80s begins with Lady of the Stars. I return to America and I make this with a recording team under the production of Jerry Wexler, the famous American producer. Lady of the Stars is another classic cosmic Donovan rock album. And then it's a return to acoustics. In 1981, I make a record called Love Is Only Feeling. My daughter sings with me, my 8-year-old daughter Estrella. And I return to playing with the jazz players in London and the flute players like Danny Thompson on bass. Followed by the Neutronica album, which I released in 82. Now this album particularly returns me to the world of protest songs because America was deploying neutron bombs all over Europe, and there was a great peace movement that rose in 82, especially in Germany and Austria. And that was called Neutronica. And as I go through all my albums here, I find myself returning to my early stuff as my collections become released in compilation albums. And I notice one here, which is Fairy Tale. It is a compilation of 2 albums, though. And since then, I realize that I've also released various collections of live material. And here's one on Permanent Records called Donovan Rising. Whew, that was a few records.